welcome back to another episode of The Trenches. This is crypto's #1 live stream where we talk to the most important founders building the coolest apps. And because of that, we do a lot of conversations with Solana founders because that's where a lot of the leading app layer activity is taking place. And of course, one of those is KYD Labs and Nimali. Nimali is someone I've known for, 2-3 years now at this point. And, I've gotten to know KYD Labs over the years, and they're by far the coolest tokenized ticketing platform that I've seen in crypto. And they actually have a really unique wedge here in New York City itself, where they're starting to gain traction and get real users. So I think there's going to be an exceptional conversation. And as we've recently seen with collectibles, here in The Trenches, we talk about things before they're mainstream. So we had Collector Crypt on, and we talked about tokenized collectibles. We had Baxis on, and both those platforms now are really taking off. And so likewise, tokenized ticketing is something that's early, but I have full confidence will take off. And I think KYD Labs has a great shot at being that leading ticketing platform on Solana. So Nimali, with that, welcome to The Trenches. How's your day going? What's been a highlight for you the past week?
I'm glad to be here first and foremost. And, this week it's living in the trenches, honestly, right?
Yeah.
We work with some of the best music venues in New York. And ultimately, man, it's great having no life. But highlight of my week this week was listening to the Clips album.
By the way, he says he has no life. Meanwhile, I get text from him at 8:30. Hey, do you want to come to this cool concert tonight? Like 2 hours. So he says he has, quote, no life, but actually I think he has probably one of the coolest lives in New York City because he knows all these music stars who's going to all these events. So for all the people listening, be a little bit questionable when he says he has no life, but he does work a lot. I guarantee that.
Don't spoil my secrets now. But yeah, a big highlight for me this week was I purchased the Clips vinyl, the new album. It's really dope. So super stoked to listen to it when I get home and it comes in, and just excited to be here with you, Carl, on my Friday.
Terrific. All right, well, let's jump in. So, ticketing is a unique business, and it's one of those areas where the more you learn about it, the more you realize there's these entrenched norms and standards that seem at times impossible to overcome. And it's these weird industry dynamics that are not consistent to other types of platforms that lead platforms like Ticketmaster to just charge you 20% of your face value of a transaction in order to make it happen. They have such a big moat across many different dimensions. And so what I want to do is, before we even talk about crypto, I want to talk about ticketing. And, you spent a lot of years in the ticketing industry. So maybe talk about your experience in the ticketing industry traditionally, where you worked, and how this business works, how it functions. Because I don't think most people know that. And it's really important if you want to try to disrupt that industry to understand the framework upon which it's built.
Yeah, Carl, you're absolutely spot on. And for listeners listening in, I spent a large part of my career at Ticketmaster, at Live Nation, at this largest secondary ticketing platform of its seats. So I really have seen the guts of this business. Now, for one moment, I want everybody to forget what they know about ticketing and listen in. The ticketing industry is one of the world's largest debt industries. When you're looking at a Drake going on tour, a Justin Bieber going on tour, a Taylor Swift getting hundreds of millions of dollars to go on a 100-city like tour, they're getting debt. So the way it works is this: the artist will come to a ticketing company like Live Nation. They'll get $100 million, $200 million guarantee if they're Taylor Swift. And then they will have to go and be on tour until they sell $1 to $2 billion in tickets. It's all debt based. Now, on the stadium side, it's very similar. Ticketmaster is no BlackRock. They do not own every single stadium in the US. What they do, though, is say, hey, stadium, you're going to be producing a lot of shows. You're going to have a lot of capital intensive elements happening in your business. Let's give you a facility, a debt facility of $200 million up front based on your future sales, and we'll put a service fee onto your users. That 30 to 40% service fee ring a bell when you're buying tickets and you're seeing, oh my God, like 90, 80, 70, 60% of my ticket is actually a fee that I don't know where it comes from. No, that's an interest rate. Ticketmaster provides this upfront capital and underwrites it, locks these stadiums in so they can only use Ticketmaster, locks these artists in so they can only use Ticketmaster, and they charge the fan 20, 30, 40% in fees. And that spread is huge when you think about it. They're only lending a portion of future sales, not lending, hey, we predict you're going to sell, $500 million. We're going to give you $500 million. It's more like, we're going to lend you $40 million because we know that you're going to buy into that as an artist. And we're going to charge your customers. You get a 0% interest loan, but the fans are paying. And this is huge when you think about the business. It's not just shopping for tickets now. It's, oh my God, as a fan, I'm paying an interest rate for my favorite artist. And the worst part about it is that artist is not even getting their data from Ticketmaster. So they have no way to grow that business. So the fundamental of ticketing is very simple. It's basically an accounts receivable business. It's you put upfront capital, you sell tickets, earn fees, and artists today and music venues today have no other choice. Ticketmaster is their bank.
So that's really helpful. And to break that down, I understood just from our conversations the piece about the stadium. But so to be clear, if you approached MetLife or even some of these medium-sized venues, they'd be like, I'm already in contract with Ticketmaster or one of these platforms for another probably like 2 to 5 years, right? How long are these contracts on average where they lock up a venue?
It could be anywhere from like 4 to 8 years, right?
Wow.
They vary. But, there's a dog whistle in ticketing and nobody talks about it. You can have the best product in the world. Like you can have a marketing engine, emails, SMS. You can help them sell more tickets. No, the real business is, hey, music venue, we can give you better liquidity terms. You can have cheaper fees so that you can actually upsell and make your ticket prices more pricier. That's the business, right? So, we've seen this time and time again, Ticketmaster actually get displaced by incumbents that provide better liquidity terms. We saw that with the Barclays Center, where they switched from Ticketmaster in deal to SeatGeek. But SeatGeek's tech was not up to par and cost them a lot of money, so they ended up switching back.
Wow.
So when we look at how to displace Ticketmaster, the question is not, hey, how do we build better tech? It's how do we get more liquidity than Ticketmaster? So Live Nation has $6.5 billion in debt they've taken out to do these loans. And they're making 30 to 40% on that debt they've taken out at favorable terms off their balance sheet, off from their, from private lenders. And when we look at this in crypto, if I told you, hey, $6.5 billion we need to win back live events, it's trivial. But that's really the unlock here. How do we give venues and even potentially down the line artists better liquidity terms? So not only can they provide a better experience by charging less fees, which is that interest rate, but also give them a product that can help them scale their business, that actually gives them that you can actually compete on the tech advantage. That's the core piece of the business that we're looking at.
Got it. Okay, so there's 2 things I want to talk about on the ticketing side, and that was really helpful on the stadium side. So on the artists, I didn't realize artists also need to sign with ticketing platform. So what happens in an instance where, let's say there's a mismatch where the artist is signed with, I'm just going to say StubHub or SeatGeek, and then the venues at Ticketmaster. How does that work in practice?
So the relationship's a little bit tricky with the artists. So Ticketmaster and Live Nation are the same business, but the Live Nation acts as what you call the promoter or the venue in this case. So they sign with Live Nation to do the tour. So Live Nation owns the touring component. A better example is like a sports team, for example. Like let's take the Philadelphia Eagles. They'll sign on with Ticketmaster, and then they'll get that upfront capital so they can do whatever they need on the sports side to do their secondary and resale. So it's still the same methodology. It's really very much so that now the artist has enough to tour, whether without a promoter or with Live Nation, and they have money in their pockets to go on a 100-day tour, a 100-city tour, or on the Philadelphia Eagles side, they have enough spread to get that that star quarterback if they want to, right?
Yeah.
So
we already got Jalen though. Jalen ain't going anywhere. Nobody take him. But if they needed a future one, we could talk about that hypothetical future one. But don't be passing any shade on the Philadelphia Eagles now.
I'm not casting no shade.
Otherwise, I know where you live.
I want no smoke from Anons on the internet. I promise you that. No, but it's very fascinating. But the cool thing about the music industry, live events is one piece, but we all know about the parallels about music labels.
Yeah,
music labels provide 360 deals. They provide this upfront capital that you got to pay, and then you got to recoup on. So the mass public knows about that side, but they don't realize that the concert side's even pardon my language, even fucking worse.
Wow.
Like there's a reason why Universal Music Group has $4 to $5 billion in loans out versus Live Nation with 6.5 just in the last year. It's a completely different ballgame.
Wow. Wow. That's wild. So the last thing I want to talk about, just to understand, to your point, how fucked up the ticketing is the data side. So I think one of the most wild things is if you're Taylor Swift and all these people are spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, like you have no idea who they are. So why is that the case? Like, is that correct? And tell me about the data piece. If you're an artist, how is it possible you don't know your customers? And why is this data not being shared? It seems like such a trivial thing.
Because you took money from a loan shark. That's the reality here, right? When you're Ticketmaster and you've paid up front to win a deal, you set your own terms here, right? So as an artist, if you ask Ticketmaster for, or as a venue even, if you ask Ticketmaster for your data, they'll be like, well, you got to repay your recoup. We're going to get to it. They're not in the business of winning on innovation, nor are they in the business of giving your data as a marketplace. Their goal is to use your data to sell for other shows, to sell their marketplace, to sell their sponsorship. This is the key thing here. A lot of venues are realizing by sacrificing their data, and many artists as well. We see this with these loyalty programs and crypto and everybody trying to find out who the fan is and customer is. There's a million solutions out there for this. Artists and venues are realizing today in the 21st century, in order to scale and survive in today's music industry, you need to know who's in your room so you can find more people like them.
Yeah.
People have less money than ever before. So when we started Kid, and Carl, you know this, we were in the fucking trenches.
Yeah.
We said, hey, we're going to build a platform that solves that problem. And then we're going to scale into providing, solving for the liquidity piece, which is the elephant in the room.
Yep.
Now, we do have customers that are like, hey, we have our data and we have our liquidity and we're selling more tickets because we can target more fans. And it's a game changer.
Yeah.
This is the piece that makes this a two-pronged approach where you can take on a giant like Ticketmaster. You have a great product, but you use on-chain liquidity on Solana. You hear me. I know you guys are hearing me, you degens.
Yes.
We take back the fucking ticketing industry and take down Ticketmaster because we know that we have liquidity. We have the ability to effectively earn from culture, and that's where the lending piece comes in. And we can discuss that.
Yeah. And I think now we've set enough context. I think it's time to jump into Kid. And the last thing I'll say to wrap up the prior section is, remember, if you don't know where the yield comes from, you are the yield. And in this case, those 30 to 40% fees are actually not going even to Ticketmaster fully. They're going towards debt financing, and other fees. I mean, it's totally wild to me. It's also wild that Ticketmaster would rather sell your data of what you've been to a random stranger than even sell it back to the artists themselves. Right. And that's crazy. But it's all in the pursuit of the cross selling. And so I think Ticketmaster is abusive, and I think this has even gone up to the highest levels of Congress, where you have these congressional leaders and their kids, their teenage daughters, for example, are trying to buy Taylor Swift tickets. I'm like, why are we paying 30%? So even this has reached Congress, I think, and I hope something happens. I'm not optimistic it will, and I think it has to be industry, and particularly the crypto industry, that does this disruption. But it's a major issue. So let's then fast forward to Kid itself. So let's start with, what is the thesis behind Kid, and what are the key innovations or product features you have? And then we'll talk about the debt piece, because I know that's something you're looking at and have some really good ideas. We'll get there, but even just like the product itself, if you're an event venue or you're an artist, what is the thesis behind Kid, and why I would use Kid over another platform?
So the way we describe Kid to venues is, we're the people's Ticketmaster. We allow you to own your distribution, own your data, so you can send SMSs, emails, run paid ads, all from the same place. It's your operating system. So when we're selling venues, there's no blockchain component to selling them. It's like, hey, we make you more money. We help you reach more customers. That's the sell. The real innovation, like Kid's been around since 2022. When everybody was using Wallet Connect to create a seamless experience, we had phone numbers where you logged in with your phone number, you got a 2FA PIN code, and you logged in, and it was very simple and easy to use. The first innovation we took was like, hey, we're not going to go down the route of collectibles. We're going to build a great product that's on chain, and then we're going to scale that to be competitive with Web2 competitors. And we were very successful. It took us so much time to get people to believe in us. Like when I mean the trenches, we were knocking on doors, and Carl, you know this. Yeah. We were running after venues, artists to use us, and it wasn't until that first case study with a large New York venue where we saw that huge inflection point. They increased their sales by 30%. And now we've onboarded 4 venues just in the past 4 months. It's insane. Now, the innovation there is actually very simple. We delivered a product that was competitive to Web2 standards. And then we hit the bigger issue is to sign these deals, we have to provide a debt facility. So we started off by borrowing money in convertible notes and saying, hey, you know what? We'll match that debt facility provided you by Dice or by Ticketmaster. And we did it at terms similar to what I did at Ticketmaster. And what we saw was we drove $1 million plus in revenue off of that, and it was at that point we're like, we have the ability to win venues. They love the product. And we just displaced $1 billion incumbent with as 3 guys at the time in a basement.
Yeah.
So, 3 guys in a basement.
So let's jump into that. So you're able for at least this one venue, and it seems like you're now replicating that. I know you're at like 4 venues at least now in New York City alone. Why are they selling more tickets? Like, what about your product enables them to sell upwards of 30% more tickets for shows?
It's absolutely fucking wild. We just give them their data. Yeah. They literally retarget people using emails on Ad Manager. They use their SMS. They have a direct line of, hey, if you ran this ad, you sold this many in tickets, and they can effectively not light paid marketing spend on fire. That was really it. It was very simple. We just helped them be better marketers by giving them the data they never had before. It was
that easy. I mean, it's instead of marketing on Google Ads to random people, it's like if I know somebody lives in New York and they've been to my theater, maybe I should just retarget those people for another show.
Or as well, it's like, hey, I'm spending $5,000 on Google and it's effectively selling me a couple tickets, but if I spent $5,000 on Instagram, it's selling me much more. My return on spend now is very visible on Kid. And that's the game changer, right? When you're seeing 13, 12x, our average return on spend on Kid for every dollar spent is 9x.
Wow.
It's insane. So that was the piece that really set us apart.
Got it. And so what do you guys have an Instagram integration, or what does that look like?
So it's actually pretty simple. We integrate with Ad Manager, so Meta Ad Manager, where effectively we can pull from campaigns. We can pass back the data of purchasers for that genre of show and enable them to retarget people that look like the people that I've bought in the past. That piece alone has been a game changer.
Wow.
Most music folks don't know how to use complicated tools like Ad Manager. Yeah. It's a nightmare, and it's common for most e-commerce platforms. Yep. But it was just that, dude. It was very simple. We created a tool that was integrated and made that much of a difference by just giving them their data.
Yep. Wow. It's amazing. It's that easy, right? It all comes down to data and accessibility, and also reducing middlemen. I think to your point, like instead of being standing in the way between you and your customer, I'm just gonna create an easy channel and do all the work so that way you can more easily retarget your customers, right? Oh, it looks like we lost Nimali for a second. We've had a couple issues with Pump where all of a sudden people seem to get kicked off the stream. My guess is that's what happened here.
Yep, I try to share my screen and give you guys a little bit of a visual and show you.
So weird. I don't know why it keeps happening. I wonder if it's a bug or just a weird UI thing.
So I can actually pinpoint the bug here. It's if you switch tabs, it automatically takes you out.
Wow. Super weird.
Easily fixable. I think
okay.
This has been a great experience so far, though.
Okay. So do you think you're going to be able to show, or is it something where right now it's not?
Let me see. I separated the tab. I think I'll be able to show everything.
Okay.
So let's try doing this, and hopefully nothing crashes. Fingers crossed. Okay.
There we go. We have to share screen.
All right. Cool. All right. Let's go. Yeah, let's go on dashboard. Not that one. Yeah, that one. Cool. So I can give everybody a quick view of what I mean by that. But like, this is an example of, can y'all see my screen?
I'm pulling it up right now. Pin globally, and I'm going to unpin myself.
Yeah. So we can look at the Lemonheads, this Lemonhead show here, where, this is the operating system venues and artists use, right? So they can see a clear breakdown of how many tickets sold on Meta. They can see, we push directly to Spotify, Songkick, bands in town just by them adding a performer. And the cool thing about this, and this is really where it gets really interesting for Kid, is that When they're running, they can run ad campaigns and they can deliver results like this,
Wow.
where they spent $1,000 and sold 8,000 in tickets at a 7.9x return on spend,
It's amazing.
5.4x return on spend. This is something that nobody else has. And then going even a step further by giving them a full breakdown of demographic and genre analytics, so age, knowing, how many are male, female, and their conversion funnel. So these are just examples of what many ticketing companies just don't do. And if they want to contact their audience, they have all of their emails and information there as well.
Wow.
And that's a game changer. That's the piece where, we really set a bar.
Yeah.
Uh, I
Now,
hope it,
now in this case, is it the venue that's doing this to the artist, or are they both sort of simultaneously advertising for the show?
so they're both basically the artists would also link their ad account
Yep.
and they're marketing, they're spending dollars. So the venue and the artists are both spending dollars.
Got it.
So it's not easy to sell at a show. It costs a lot of marketing money to build awareness.
Yep.
So we make sure that that goes a step further.
Yep. Now, super helpful overview. Now, what we could look at next is somebody could say, hey, I love everything I've heard so far about KYD Labs. This doesn't look like crypto. This looks like a regular product and you're doing Web2 stuff with, consumer spend and return on spend. Like, where's the crypto come in? So, maybe that obviously teeing that up. Where does crypto intersect with your product, and how do you envision blockchain and crypto and Solana being core to your business?
There's no way KYD Labs can beat Ticketmaster without liquidity. Today, KYD, from the wallets to the tickets, are all on chain. That's a novelty. But in order for us to win, we need to be able to compete with Ticketmaster's balance sheet. We're using on-chain liquidity to do that. So, as I mentioned initially in this call, this is a debt-based industry. We've built out the component that allows venues and artists to sell tickets and generate fees. Our next step is to enable people in DeFi and lenders to deposit their USDC to earn competitive yields off of the world's biggest events, effectively enabling us to not only win venue and artist deals, but to provide accessible capital to the music industry. That is the reason crypto is needed.
Got it. So using crypto as a tool for capital formation, and then I'm assuming as part of that, the ability to also financialize that. So instead of just a regular fund that would put in the amount of, let's say, $10 million, $100 million, whatever, like these larger debt facilities normally do,
Right.
and then it's kind of sits there static. You're now able to get, I'm assuming, like a bearer token, and then you can use that in DeFi as collateral. You can loop that. You can start to do things you can't do if you just send somebody a wire or a check.
Absolutely. And the cool thing about it is when you look at our ticketing platform and you look at Ticketmaster, right? They're making 20, 30, 40% on every capital they deploy, every piece of capital they deploy. Why not provide that to DeFi lenders
Yep.
and provide more accessible rates? If you can earn anywhere from 12 to 20% APY on live events, that's a huge win for crypto.
Yeah.
And it's also a huge win for the music industry and live events. They now have cheaper fees than what Ticketmaster would provide. And crypto lenders are earning lucrative yields from the world's greatest shows.
Yeah.
That's our purpose. And that's what we're thinking about in the future is how do we take on Live Nation? They have $6.5 billion that they can deploy. How do we now create that same liquidity and win back all our venues, win back all these tours, and give artists their data?
Yeah.
That's the piece that we're focused on.
Now, how much capital would you need? Let's say, and is this already live, or is this something that's in the plan and going live?
We are launching this in Q1 2025 with our token. And KYD will be one of the first revenue-based tokens out there, where by holding KYD, you have the ability to earn USDC from the fees that we generate, and that will be the yield.
I see. So you're combining the debt facility with with essentially like I would say the equity base, or like the token itself. In other words, you're not saying you get a one-to-one bearer token that earns yield and there's a separate KYD token. You're lumping these all together into one value proposition.
Correct.
So then so let's talk about, and maybe you don't know the answer, and obviously if it's Q1, like maybe not everything is worked out yet, but does that mean if I were to deposit into this pool and earn KYD token, do I also have, it looks like the thing happened again with the, here we go, bring it back. Bring him back.
We're back, Carl.
There
We're back.
I'm assuming it's when you went to
Yeah,
unshare the screen, it kicked you out again.
we actually have a screen we can give a sneak peek of what the team is working on and how it looks like.
Okay. Do you want to do that now, or you want to do that?
Yeah, hell yeah, of
All right,
course.
let's give it a try.
We
Let's
do
see
it
if we can pull it up.
like Bill O'Reilly. We'll do it live.
Yeah, let's
We'll
see if we
do it
can pull it
live.
up. Well, one of the things about the trenches is we always demo products every live stream. My general take is we have amazing products being built in crypto. And if we're not demoing those products and sharing the cool stuff people are building, then why are we here? Like, we're not here just to hear Carl and Nimali be talking heads. We're here to actually showcase what the future looks like.
Yeah. So we would love to get early feedback on it, but effectively, the model is pretty simple. Imagine earning from our general venues, the fees generated from our general venues, electronic music, rock and roll, different genres, and different acts. It could be Dylan Francis, which we have on our platform, Iptic, Coldplay, Bruce Springsteen. But the key thing here is being able to earn institutional yield from live events. So being able to simply go in there, deposit your USDC, and earn KID in a USDC based yield. This is all coming from the fees we generate.
Yep.
Its fee today is 20% on top of every ticket.
Yep.
And we provide debt facilities of up to 6% of deal value to venues and artists.
Wow.
We anticipate that's going to be anywhere from a 12% to a 20% APR on those deals.
Wow.
Now, it's pretty solid. You pick your commitment. We do have longer lockups. It's 2 years because we're a real business and our contracts are 3 to 4 years. So effectively, we know we can recoup and drive us up to a 20% APY if we have 2 years in that piece. So you deposit your USDC, you go in there, you select it, and then the cool thing about it is with our buybacks, you can also stake your KID and earn from a vault of KID tokens we've bought back from the market, giving you additional KID that you can have.
That's awesome. No, that's really terrific. And what other uses does a token have other than being which by the way is a great use, like being a bearer? Do you envision other crypto native things, like whether it's forecasting or predicting the amount of ticket sales that are going to go on, or other gamification or other features? Or maybe it's benefits where if you put in $2 million, you actually can get tickets to X number of shows. Like there's a lot of cool things that you can build.
So there's a few things that we have in mind that we're really excited about. One is that if you are a depositor, you can actually request tickets for shows that you're interested in on our marketplace for venues. The second thing is, I think from a developer use case, it'd be great to see people building on our protocol, like prediction markets. Like, hey, who's going to attend more? Is it going to be Playboy Cardi, or is it going to be Diplo? Who's going to have more people actually come to the show? And putting predictions and bets there. I think there's many different things we're thinking about, but the main ones are, hey, how do we get more people to build on top of the protocol, both as like different use cases, but also as integrators. We do see a use case for Live Nation, Ticketmaster to actually build on top of KID to capture more of their resale and do fraud promos. We also see a great use case for providing, there's a huge difference between the yield that we generate. You can visually see if you're helping finance a tour or a show, there's something actually happening in real life. So being able to attend that show and be able to have access to that venue, it's a big plus.
No, it totally makes sense. I mean, like when I go to buy Eagles tickets, they do like at the beginning of, I think it's in like August or even July, they do essentially like a sale for the year where they open up the non-season ticket holder tickets, and it's such a shit show trying to get tickets. And you can imagine, like, hey, if I'm a KID holder and I have X amount, like in theory, they should have the opportunity to have at least 30 minutes or some sort of window to participate in that process for the best seats that I want. It's like by helping fuel the artists themselves, I now have a priority access that I couldn't have otherwise, and you certainly wouldn't have with Ticketmaster today in the way they construct it.
And it's really cool, Carl, because lenders earn KID tokens, but there's another participant in our network. It's actually venues when they're generating shows and artists. So it becomes a piece where that is very much so possible. KID holders are contributing to their success, and it's we've explained our model to our venue partners, some artist customers, and they're fucking excited. They're like, I own a portion of the network. I have the ability to now earn fees from everybody else. And that's the thing that we're really excited about. We're excited about really providing a competitive yield, institutional grade yield, but also providing, that cultural impact, that cool factor, which is you get access to go see cool shit
I
and dope
know.
shit,
I know. That's awesome. I love that. I absolutely love that. So let's talk a little bit about the user side of things. We focused a lot on the artists. We focused a lot on the stands, or sorry, the stadiums or the arenas and venues. One of the things that really is frustrating is if I told you I went to the Super Bowl last year, I didn't, by the way, but if I told you I did, I'd
Be
actually
shocked.
have no way to prove that to you.
Right.
Like I could show you a picture, but that could be fake. Like I actually have no way to prove it. I think what you can build now is once you have a ticket on chain, that could transform into a collectible, and you can imagine that data not only being valuable to artists, but like any artist or anyone to try to prove that I'm a mega fan. So, I realize that you can't build everything on one platform, at least not within 6 months, right? You have to like figure out what's the highest value and start there. But like,
Carl,
do you have a
point.
vision for a fan experience? Like, what is your vision for fan experience? Where I go to the venue, like, what's that experience like in terms of the check-in and then after the show itself, and then after the show?
So the cool thing is all of our tickets are NFTs on chain. They all are redeemed on chain. So we do have that element of a collab. Um, but what we're thinking about is we have this other concept that we're looking at called ticks,
Hmm.
where every time a fan goes to a show, they get rewarded. So they get ticks that they can use to go to the bar, buy drinks.
Hmm.
They can use it for future ticket sales, get cheaper tickets, or they can use it and opt in for meet and greets and other pieces that the artist is willing to provide. Those pieces are things that don't exist in the ticketing industry. We see it in the airline industry all the time
Yeah.
with Delta Miles and different rewards there. But that's something that we're looking at after the token launch. Candidly, the KID token, the institutional yield, will give us the spread of venues, the spread of artists. But the big impact to fans is they're paying less fees.
Yeah.
And here's why. If the interest rate is always being passed to fans, and we as crypto DeFi lenders are providing more accessible liquidity, that means fans are paying less. That's the key piece. You're paying less for tickets, you're going to shows, and the artist knows who you are. They can form fan clubs, and these are fundamentals.
Yep.
Fundamentals that don't exist today. And that's what I'm excited about. And hopefully, as we scale out our thesis around the lending piece to get scale, that becomes the main thing we focus on.
Got it. No, it's terrific. And let's talk about the wedge. So far, I get it. You think you're in 4+ venues. Maybe just give us an update where you're at, and then what do you see as the wedge to go from 4 venues to 40? Obviously, let's assume the liquidity gets there, but from more of a type of venue, type of artist, type of geography, what is that sweet spot that you think is really underserved, or you think has high value to pursue?
I think it's definitely middle market. So venues like the Troubadour, the Knockdown Center, these are venues that today are underserved by Ticketmaster. But I also see there's a huge opportunity in sports. Like our goal at KID is to be in 100+ venues by the end of 2026,
Wow.
and to be at Madison Square Garden by 2029.
Okay.
The things that work for us today work at the stadium level, because the stadium level has a bigger impact. If you don't know your customers and you don't know who your season ticket holders are that are checking in, you have a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
This is what the industry's been asking for years. If we have the liquidity, which with our token launch and with the Solana ecosystem, we're super stoked. We're like, there's no way that we're not going to go down and take down Ticketmaster together.
Yep.
We're confident that we'll scale to that. And we've proven over the 3 years in the trenches, we've been able to do it. We're the only ones that were able to do it. So I'm stoked to solve that problem and get to that point. But right now, really focused on making sure that we deliver competitive yield, and that flywheel will turn itself in my mind.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. What is something we haven't covered so far that you're like, wow, this is so important? And like, Carl, you didn't even ask me a question about it. Like, what haven't we covered yet in the overall like ticketing thesis and what you're building at KYD Labs?
I think it's very important to talk about why Web3 ticketing has failed in the past.
That's a good one.
If we don't discuss why, what's happened, what our learnings are, I don't think, there's really much reason to, explain how KID works, and it's great. But I think when we look back at 2021, we've seen so many Web3 ticketing companies like Yellowheart. We've seen Get Protocol, which are pioneers, by the way. I think their protocol is brilliant and ahead of its time. But we've seen hundreds, if not close to $1 billion poured into this thesis. So why hasn't anyone been able to get some traction? Is like the question I think would be a good question to ask. So I can answer it.
Yeah, let's do it. No, so why have none of these worked out previously or achieved for like sustaining activity?
So I think nobody really tackled the debt problem,
Yep.
and that was the number one thing to win. When we looked at if you're collectibles first or if you're fan first, you're not going to win the supply side. Carl, you mentioned it right, spot on, right? The monopoly that exists with Ticketmaster is a monopoly that is fueled by debt. It's one that they're locked in because they've taken money and they got to pay that back. If you're not tackling that fundamental challenge and you're not looking at the ticketing industry for what it is, it's a debt-based industry, it's a banking industry, and it's a fintech, then you're approaching it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have failed to gain any traction with any venues or any supply side because they didn't approach it as such. They approached it as a fan. I'm approaching it as a former Ticketmaster employee who's worked on Taylor Swift, who's worked on Dua Lipa, and has done the world's biggest festivals. Everything here is based off debt.
Yeah.
And that's the piece that differentiates us versus everybody else.
Well, so that's a good point. Some of the companies we've seen, there's kind of two different ways to approach the market. I mean, you could say infinite, but like two main ones. One is primary ticket issuance, and some of these platforms just purely do secondaries.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm not going to be directly competing with Ticketmaster here, but in the secondaries, that's where I compete. What's your view on companies pursuing the secondary market? And is that a one where you think somebody could also break out or gain a meaningful market share?
How much do you think StubHub spent on paid marketing last year?
Oh my goodness. I would guess. Depends. I don't know how much revenue they did, but I would assume 25% of revenue at least was spent on marketing.
You're not too far off. The number was $808 million
In marketing?
in paid marketing. The issue with secondary is this. Secondary is how many eyeballs can you bring to a marketplace? It's a very cost intensive game. It's very heavily optimized. And finally, the tickets are never going to be on chain because the initial issuer of that ticket is the primary. And that's going to be Ticketmaster, that's going to be Dice, that's going to be Kid, and so on and so forth. I do think it's a great way to capture price action.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it is a great way to build on derivatives markets that could be predicting the movement of price. I think secondary is great for that. But in order to get the volume of buyers you need for secondary to be successful, I'm sorry, I'm geeking out here.
No, it's great.
You need to spend. You had to spend with the big boys. You got to spend billions of dollars. So you're facing the same problem in primary and secondary. One is like you need liquidity to win venues and to win stadiums to ensure you're the primary guy. And the other one is you need liquidity to compete with companies that are spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year on getting people and eyeballs to their sites. And your tickets will never be on chain. And that's the part that sucks. Because if it's a secondary ticket, when you get that email, you're getting a Ticketmaster ticket.
Yeah.
And
at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, right? Whereas if it's issued by Taylor Swift, you're going to know where that ticket goes, wherever, and you can capture royalties on every single step. So the artist, the venue, and the primary ticketing provider can get paid. That's when you can set the rules. You can't set the rules at the secondary level.
Yeah, it seems like primary ticket issuance is a deal game while secondary is a marketing game. That's kind of what I'm hearing. And the marketing game, by the way, is in some ways a lot harder than the deal game, and because you're constantly competing versus deals. Once you lock in a venue, obviously you need to perform, but you at least have some stability in your cash flows over a period of time.
100%, because you can wait and say, hey, this venue's done the past 3 years was this much. And for lenders, like if you're a DeFi lender, you want to see that underwritten, right? You want to see, hey, this is what my yield could be or would be. With secondary, you're pouring money onto you're pouring like money onto an everlasting.
Constantly pouring on money.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one, right? I think, I've seen a lot of great examples out there, and I want to give a big shout out to XP Tickets. I think what they're doing is fantastic. And they're making secondary cheaper with USDC and the processing fees, which gives them a strong edge. So I think what they're doing is amazing. I do have a hard line stance here. Primary is fucking hard, but if you win it, you win the entire segment.
Yeah, you really win it. That makes a lot of sense. This has been awesome. Again, this is such a good thesis. And I guess for people that live in New York, what are the venues that you're in? And you know, is the flow today, like regular users are going to go search for a show and they're going to go sign up on Kid Labs. Like that's the process, right? So where can people go get a Kid Labs ticket in New York City?
If you go to lpr.com, you go to the Brooklyn Monarch, you go to hollow.nyc, you go to the Meadows, you go to the Wood Shop, or if you're visiting Mike Nasty or We Touch Anime Rave, we have full coverage there. There's one big one that we're hoping to announce soon. Just wrapping up from dotting some I's and crossing some T's.
Yeah.
But there's a 1 in 5 chance that you're most likely going to buy Kid Labs tickets in New York if you're going to see a regular show under $40.
Wow.
And that's the cool thing about what we're doing, and we're stoked, you know. But we're expanding to LA, Seattle, Dallas, and focusing on more markets in the upcoming months. So the takeover has begun, and it's time, guys.
That's so exciting. How big is the team now to facilitate all this growth?
Oh, we're
Too
like
small,
5.
right?
Yeah, like my therapy bills are going ever bigger though.
Great customer.
Great customer service.
Yeah.
Get yelled at belligerently. Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, but we're excited. I think we've seen. I think the Hyperliquid team is a small team too, right? You're looking at 11 people there, and Hyperliquid is one of the most successful companies of all time.
Yep.
So we're taking that lean, mean approach, and you know, we're fucking stoked, dude. We're stoked.
Yeah. Well, incredible success. Thanks for coming on the trenches. I look forward to having you back. Let's say once your Vault product goes live, we should definitely have you back and talk about it, and get users stoked. Again, here at the trenches, we talk to founders before they're mainstream. We've done it time and time again, and we're doing it today with Kid Labs. So Nimali, thanks so much for coming on. If people want to follow you, what's the best way to find Kid Labs? What's your X and any other way to follow you guys?
X is KYD Nimale. It's Nimali, not Nimel, like my teachers would call it. And then, follow KYD Labs. We are on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, if you're in New York, feel free to ping us for tickets. And if you want to hang, apparently I'm cool, Carl.
Let's hang. All right. Until next time. Thanks a lot. See you later, Nimali. Peace.